Hello everyone, nubkeks here. Welcome back to Nub Raids. Today we are on the test server and I've got multiple showcases planned to test out these new mythical buffs to see, hey, that mythical that you pulled that you were pretty disappointed about when you got them, are they a lot better now? In this video, and let me know if this is a good structure, I said rather than focus on Aphidus in multiple areas, because I do think that he can be used or built for lots of different areas, I want to focus just on Hydra here today, which is appropriate for the channel and probably the area you're most interested in. But what has happened with Aphidus? Why are we testing him out? Well, very simply, his whole base kit here, in fact, in both forms, got pretty substantial buffs, right? So his A3 ability, Blister Bug Horde, this is an AoE that places burns with a 3-turn cooldown. If there are burns active, it will activate the burns instead. This now does 25% more damage against targets under any debuffs. His A2, AoE attack that puts increased attack on your team for 2 turns before attacking. This now ignores 25% defense if enemies are not under burn, and 50% defense if they are under burn, which is a huge damage increase to him. This also increases enemy debuffs. His A1 can now place decreased defense, and always gives him Perfect Veil. That used to not happen before. Yeah, we put this stuff together, and he's got this passive where when he places burns, he lowers defense. For burns on the enemy team, he gets more crit damage. When enemy burns activate, he gets more attack, up to 50%. Lots of buffs for Hydra. It doesn't fully stack in Hydra. Fully stacks against Spider, where you can have 10 enemies under 10 burns, 10 Spiderlings. You can get the 100% crit damage. You can only get 40% crit damage in Hydra. But still, yeah, there you go. And he's got a nice aura as well. How good is he for Hydra now? Let's find out together. Let's do it. I do have him. I did test him as well without the blessing. And give me a guess. How much of a damage increase do you think a 5-star blessing is on a mythical? So I ran him with a 0-star blessing. And then I ran him with a 5-star blessing. How much of a difference? Stay tuned to find out. Stay tuned. I'm curious if your guess is right. Like, give it in a percentage. Like, is it 5% more damage? 10%, 100%? Like, how much more damage is it, do you think? 5-star, not 6-star, 5-star. We've given him Nature's Wrath. It's going to be his best one, which is more damage for every debuff successfully placed. Like, hint, hint, he's going to get at least 15% more damage, right? From the 5-star blessing. Hint, hint, hint. I put him in, like, really good damage gear as well. He's got 6-piece Merciless, 2-piece Cruel. It's pretty much as good as you can get. And we're comparing him directly to many of the other champions that I've tested before. Get a ballpark for him. His stats are now at the 5-star blessing. Subtract the blessing stats to land upon where I was without that. So he's now at 7.5k attack. I mean, before that, he was about 6.6, 248 speed, 100% crit rate, 318% crit damage. So before that, he was at about, what, 270, 260-ish. And 392 accuracy. Before the blessing, he was at about 300. We're going into Brutal Hydra. I've given him these masteries as well. So more damage with some debuffs. This one is important. Cycle of Violence, Helm Smasher. We want to extend his burns and decrease defense. That sort of stuff. So yeah, I think a good build for him. I think Merciless is really, really nice. That chance to decrease skill cooldowns when dealing damage is great. His A1 smacks, actually. But well, let's dive in. Let's do some Hydra. Let's do it. let's just give it a go. Let's just give it a go. Here, let's start on auto and let's see this. His A1 really smacks, but one thing you'll see on auto, he does not use his A1 against decapitated heads. It's one of those, again, this happened all the time for Hydra. We're going to start by targeting the head of, to make sure we get an A1 from Wixwell to provoke the head of Decay. So he's just provoked from the start. That will make the run a bit easier. We don't want him to get a cleanse off and then this head to put a poison cloud. Like so, would be pretty bad. So we land that provoke and then we're good to go. Yeah, a lot of champions struggle from this A1 thing. Here he comes in with an AoE, about 200k across the board for his AoE. That was his big hitting AoE. Yeah, that's how it is. Now, he will be scaling up a little bit as the fight goes on, right? He'll scale up to that 50% bonus attack. It's not like a Ninja or a Varl or a Toshiro level scaling. Like, Toshiro gets 100% bonus HP and attack. But look at that, 447,000 from an A1 against a non-decapitated head. Let's see him now with some AoE. So he should be back probably to his A3 I've put his priority 1 right here. So we should place some burns. Let's see him. We've got decreased defense and weaken on this head. No decreased speed, sadly. The Whispers hitting for like 500. Let me actually target this head. AoE, 1,000,000 plus popping all those burns. And if they don't have burn, he's placing burn on them. That's a nice big hit from that move here. We should hopefully get to see his A2 here as well. Let's see. I believe you've got enough speed. Don't let me down. Don't fail me. Here he goes. Umbral Stingers. Again, about 1,000,000. So this is one thing that's interesting. You might spot it. Okay. What did you spot? What did you spot? So if he is ignoring 50% defense against targets that are burned, okay, I'm just going to try kill this head so he doesn't cleanse, by the way. We're doing a bit on manual here. 50% against heads that are burned. He has 35% for Merciless. He's now up to 85% defense ignore. I also have 20% area bonuses. I am already overcapping the ignore defense by 5%. I add on Cruel. Now I'm overcapping the ignore defense by 10%. I add on a Helm Smasher proc. Now I'm overcapping ignore defense by 35%. So this is a bit of a weird thing with him. I think Merciless is so strong he'd go with that anyway. And Helm Smasher is so strong for his other moves. Hang on, we want to get... Let me pay attention. We want to land an A1 against a decapitated head here. So let me just get that done. What was I saying? But yeah, he back this head on the left, I guess. Let's see a Whisper attack. But yeah, that's a bit clunky. You might want to switch up his build then, maybe. Like, is he benefiting fully from Cruel? It's kind of awkward. Or do you ditch Helm Smasher and get like War Master instead? It's a tough call because his A3 does hit really hard. His A1 hits really hard. Those really benefit from the ignore defense. But he's not actually, unless you're missing area bonuses or you've got worse ignore defense gear or whatever, he doesn't really benefit from his full ignore defense, weirdly enough, against Hydra, which is a bummer. You can see like a Whisper for context. She's in Relentless set. Like she's hitting for 1,000,000 on her A2. She's 6-star, just to give you some context. I want to see his A1 here against this head. Okay, so we just want to see his A1. His A1 actually does hit really hard. Here we go. Bam, like 1.6 million. It's a good A1 right there. That is a good A1. So there, that gives you a bit of a sense for him. Okay, well, let's put some stuff in context. This is a folder I've been collecting, running this team, right? We've been running this team in Hydra. I'm basically seeing how different champs compare to each other in the same sort of setup. Now, stuff has changed a little bit, unfortunately. That's outside of my control. Like, we can have different rotations of Hydra on the test server. I can't control that. Like, some of these champions, they refreshed the test server since I did this testing. So some of these champions have different blessings and stuff like that. So it's difficult to get this 100% correct. But this should hopefully be, everything will be close enough that it will give you a good ballpark or an idea of how good these champions are. So it's not absolutely perfect, you know, laboratory conditions, but it's pretty close. That's sort of the goal of this. But let's put some stuff in context. So for example, we saw Rule the Huntmaster in this team, and these are running for 100 turns on Brutal, 107 million damage. That's him with 0 stars. We've got Aphidus here at 0 stars. We'll come to that. Farid, the last fusion. Better than Rule, 116. Now, this was one version of the team. In this version of the team, I have no sets on Wixwell or Aestrid. Thor's coming in. Where's Thor? Here was Thor, and Thor is dramatic. So with this version of the team, I brought in Skrank as a damage dealer with burns. And we've got Aestrid and Wixwell in a curse set. And my goodness, is Thor slamming out the damage. Like, he's just absolutely bonkers. Thor's on another level. Like, absolutely another level. Completely destroying other champions. Like, for instance, we start Xing these off, actually. Maybe we'll keep the Thor one up and Scarred as well as big comparisons. Michinaki, for instance. This was him as the Hex champion. You see Michinaki, and he's 1-star. Renowned as a top-tier damage dealer. He doesn't get the full benefit from Merciless set because he's not an attack-based champion. It's more difficult to gear him. His damage is really solid. It's a good chunk of buff. Champions like Ruel and Scarred, who are good damage dealers already. He's a chunk above. A big one in the burn category is Rathalos Blade Master, right? This is just putting stuff in context. Rathalos Blade Master, 132 million. That's with the burn. So we've got the curse sets, and we've got the burns. Rathalos, really, really impressive damage for a free login champion. We had the most recent mythical added to the game, Ashnar Dragon Soul, in the same team. Ashnar flopping pretty hard, you know, worse than the free login. Legendary. Awkward. This was him in Form 2, Ashnar. Ashnar was such a disappointment. Yeah, he's better than like you're up slightly above average legendaries, but he's worse than your regular legendaries. He was destroyed by Thor, by Rathalos. It's not even close. A champion that's always underestimated. We've got the Volcanen in there as well, who did really well. That was him as the Hex champion. He did really, really well. How did Aphidus do? Well, I've missed one important test, but I think we can work it out. Let me walk you through what I did. So first of all, I said, let's run him in a double burn team. Why are we going to run it? And you can see I changed away from this. What was the idea of the double burn team? Well, the double burn team was this idea that, okay, well, then he can priority 1 on his A2, which should be his hardest hitting move, and extends debuffs. We priority 1 on this, and we priority 2 then on this move, and this becomes a HP burn explosion. That's the goal with running him with another burner. HP burn explosion instead of placing HP burn, and priority on his A2. Let's see, how well did that work? And then we'll talk about why I moved away from it. That's Volcanen again. Let's X off Volcanen. X off. Let's keep Rathalos there. But here we go. This was Aphidus. 100 turns on Brutal in the double burn team. So Aphidus, 149 million. So in a double burn team, he was actually performing very, very well. A noticeable chunk above the the Rathalos Blade Master team. A big upgrade to him, which is pretty massive. Dramatically better than poor old Ashnar. And Ashnar and Rathalos rely. They must have burns on the enemy, you know. But Thor definitely coming in a good chunk ahead, though. Thor is insane. But, I mean, Thor is one of the best damage dealers for... Like, who's better than Thor? You've got the Trunda. You've got Kashiro. Maybe Taurus. I mean... Ninja and Harima, when paired up with a lady with, and same with Toshiro, all of them paired with Lady Mikage, but they do rely on that pairing for max damage. I mean, Toshiro's busted no matter what, but the others really, really do want that Lady Mikage, and he really benefits too. Now, Thor's really high up. We're not that strong, but Aphidus was close. So that's him in double burn. Now, here's what I tested next. I said, okay, I forgot to test him without a double burn at 0 star. I tested him with the duo burn team with 5 stars. So you guys placed bets earlier. You predicted how much damage increase does he get with a 5-star blessing? And let this be a lesson to everyone. We went from 149 with him doing 63 million to 197 million with him doing 107. So we gained about 50 million damage. Our team did 33% more damage. Our team. Aphidus himself, from 66 to 100, he did over, again, about 35% more damage. So that's roughly how much damage you're getting from a 5-star blessing. It's a massive chunk. Like, it's honestly insane. And at this point, he's on another level. But that being said, we are comparing him in this sense. Like, this is a 5-star mythical versus Thor. I mean, this is a 0-star Thor. Thor wins, right? Let's be honest. But then I said, it's not over yet, though. Because what if Aphidus is not at his best in a double burn composition? What if I was wrong with that assumption? What if we don't want to prioritize his A2? Because maybe we're just overcapping on that ignore defense. It's not good enough. What if we don't want to prioritize the HP burn explosion? Because at this level of gear and this level of damage, is the HP burn explosion even that good in the first place? Not that much damage, really, is it, when we're hitting that hard? What if we instead prioritize his A3, which is placing burns, and then we priority 2 on his A2, which is then smacking them just really hard? What if we just do that? And this is what I found. This was him at 5-star. Went from 197 million with the 100 turns to 251 million damage. Yeah, that's putting him in with the Whisper instead. Like I said, compared to some of the earlier tests, unfortunately, she's now 6-star blessing. Can't take it off. He can't take blessings off, so we're stuck with it. But a ridiculous. He gained more damage from dropping the second burn champion and having him not worry about exploding burns. Having him just place the burns is just a ridiculous damage increase. So I think if we are fair then, if we say, okay, so he started at 150. If he gained basically 50 million, let's say he gains 50 million from the soul. He's gaining 50 million from this different composition. If we put him in the, if we put him into the Thor composition at 0-star, but we swap the Skrank for a Whisper, who's doing basically the same level of damage, I think that he's actually slightly better. He's very close to the level of Thor, right? We take 50 million off for the 5-star blessing, he'd be at 200 million. And that's the winner, right? That's in the lead. Now, obviously, it's a little bit tricky because with a bit more, with the blessing, you're doing more damage, so you're killing heads faster, so the damage overall goes up. But I think at a 0-star blessing, I'm going to predict right now, from what I can see from my testing, I think he's pretty similar to Thor. So that is my ultimate take on it. How good is Aphidus? You want to run him as your only HP burner, and he is a Thor-level damage dealer for Hydra. Now, that might seem a little unexciting when I say it like that, because you're going, well, I can get Thor for free. Well, not for free, but I can easily get Thor because he's a fusion right now. You have to understand how insanely strong Thor is for Hydra, in my opinion anyway. I think Thor, he's way, way, way up there with the super OP Hydra damage dealers. Like, again, who is actually better than Thor? Like, we've got, Trunda. I guess you could have the sort of Wixwell Yannicka stuff. You've got Toshiro, Teox. You've got a few champs up there, but not that many. Like, Thor, he's up in that S tier echelon. Maybe not quite S plus like the Trunda, but he's up in the S tier. Like, he's insane. Aphidus is now in that tier as well. I mean, Ashnar is a laughing stock in comparison. It's just embarrassing. Yeah, it's a huge, huge, huge win for Aphidus, my honest opinion. Thor level damage, that is what it seems to me. Again, this just to reiterate how good Thor is, and now you've got a second champion that's like that. I mean, one downside with Aphidus, same thing with Thor, they're not in the same faction as Lady Mikage. So Lady Mikage does a lot of heavy lifting in Hydra. She's so insanely good. But yeah, Aphidus, I'm very impressed. And Thor brings you the AoE decreased speed. Aphidus is bringing you increased attack for your team. He's bringing you decreased defense on his A1. That could potentially be your only decreased defense for the team as well. Like, you could do some spicy stuff with that. Because he ignores so much defense with his A2 anyway, you could have him be the only decreased defense champ, especially with ally attackers. I actually do that on Nightmare Hydra with Ninja. He's my only decreased defense, but he's with Lady Mikage, so it's quite consistent. And it's quite single target damage focused team, but it's a spicy option. That's a nice buff. Because he puts Perfect Veil on himself a good bit, you don't have to worry as much about the Head of Torment. And yeah, he's putting out those burns as well, which is kind of nice too, right? If Poison Cloud goes up and the burns are up, it lets you hit past them, which is good. So honestly, for Hydra, is Aphidus good now? My answer is definitely yes. I'm actually very, very, very happy with this rework. I think he's brilliant. I think he's really strong. Unfortunately, I don't have more mythicals to compare him to. I would love to do that. I'd love to have the Toshiro to compare to, but yeah, I'm excited to see what people make of him when it goes to live servers. But my impressions are that he's really solid. And yeah, if you had Aphidus before, you probably were using him in Hydra. I think he's going to serve you much, much better now. So thumbs up for me. I think Thor level champion, Aphidus, is my impression for Hydra. They're kind of both interesting. They're very similar because, they both also scale better the more enemies there are as well. So yeah, Thor's passive scales the more enemies there are. But yeah, Thor level damage, Aphidus looking sick. That's my impressions. Thanks for watching. I will see you all next time. Goodbye.